Hi, I'm Neen Bishop, and I found out my entire family went on vacation to Miami without me on my 30th birthday. Not from a text, not from a call, from Facebook. I was standing in my kitchen, still in my robe, coffee in hand, reading my dad's post like it was some twisted Hallmark card. He was at the airport bar holding a margarita, captioned, "Finally free Miami, here we come." I remember blinking at it for a long time. My thumb refreshed the feed automatically, and that's when the rest started rolling in like an avalanche of betrayal. My twin sisters, Ava and Alexis, tagging the same hotel. My mom uploading a boomerang of palm trees with Good Life playing in the background. Smiles, cocktails, sand. No mention of me, no mention of my birthday. They'd left the state together on my day, and never said a word. At first, I thought maybe I missed something. Maybe it was a surprise, or maybe they were planning something else. But then came the group selfie, all of them in white outfits, toasting on the beach with the caption, "So grateful to spend time with people who make life worth living." I snapped. Under the post, I typed just one word. Why? I didn't expect an answer, but my dad replied fast. "We didn't want to waste our time on a clown." I swear I read it twice, waiting for some haha just kidding or "we love you anyway." Nothing. Just that. So I wrote back, "Then this clown doesn't want to spend money on you." That was it. No one liked it. No one commented. But I know they saw it, because my aunt messaged me 5 minutes later saying, "Don't stir things up. You're ruining the vibe." The vibe. Apparently, family loyalty is conditional, but vibes are sacred. I remember standing there in my tiny kitchen, surrounded by gold-trimmed napkins and blush pink decorations I'd picked out for the rooftop dinner I'd planned dashed alone. Because yes, I had gone all out. The terrace was booked. The guest list was huge: college friends, agency reps, both my grandmothers who hadn't spoken in years. And now, none of my immediate family would be there. Still, I went through with it. That night, when I walked into the venue, the city lights glowing behind me and music floating through the air, I expected to feel hollow. But I did, and single quotes. My friends showed up. My grandmother showed up. Even my old art teacher sent flowers and a note that said, "You always had it, kid." And somewhere between the champagne toasts and the laughter, I realized something. I wasn't missing my family. I was finally seeing them for who they were. No calls came that night. No messages the next morning. They didn't even pretend. But 9 days later, they did. They called. They texted. They begged. And that's when the real story began, because the reason they were suddenly desperate had nothing to do with guilt. It had to do with money. Money I'd been sending them, quietly, every month, for over a year. And when the clown stopped paying, the circus started to fall apart. See, I never told anyone I was helping them, not my friends, not even my grandmothers. I didn't want pity points or moral gold stars. I just did it. When my dad lost his job, I sent $1,200 a month to help cover the mortgage. My mom's pay barely kept the lights on, and the twins Ava and Alexis were forever between jobs, which in their language meant waiting for the universe to deliver success without effort. I did it because I thought they were trying, because I remembered the nights we'd eaten cereal for dinner and my dad promised things would get better, because family was supposed to mean something. But when I saw that photo from Miami, those matching white outfits, that smug caption about people who make life worth living, I saw exactly what they thought of me. So I stopped the payments, quietly. No announcement, no warning, just nothing. It took 9 days for the silence to hit them. The first sign came from my mom, a voicemail. She said my name like she was about to scold me, then just sighed and hung up. No apology, just that manipulative pause she used to use when I was a kid. The one that said, "You should feel bad now." Then came a text from Alexis, "You around?" Like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just called me a joke by association. Next came Ava. She sent a Venmo request for $10 with the caption, "Lunch LOL." That one actually made me laugh out loud. By the end of the night, my phone looked like an emergency hotline. 5 missed calls from my mom, from my dad, one final message from him saying, "We need to talk urgently." I didn't answer. I knew exactly what it was about. I'd cut off their life support. For over a year, I had quietly covered part of their mortgage, $1,200 every month. On time, never late. They never said thank you. They never even brought it up. I was just the reliable background noise of their life, the direct deposit daughter. The guilt text came first. You're really going to do this to us? We didn't mean it that way. You're being too sensitive. Then the pity. Your father isn't well. The bank is calling. We don't know what to do. Then the panic. By day 3, my mom sent a wall of texts that started with "I don't know how we got here" and ended with "You've always been selfish." No accountability, just deflection. That night, my dad drove to my apartment. I saw his car from my window, headlights glowing against the gate. He sat there for 15 minutes before buzzing my unit. Then again. I didn't answer. He called 4 times, then left a voicemail. "We're about to lose the house. Please, just 1 more month. I'm begging you." I didn't cry. I didn't even feel much. Just this cold clarity, because I'd already seen their Miami receipts. The cabana rental Ava bragged about. The luxury restaurant my mom tagged. The new phone my dad was holding in those beach photos. They weren't broke. They were playing broke. And I was done playing along. That's when I decided to call Nana my mom's mom. The real matriarch of the family. The kind of woman who could ruin your day and fix your life in the same sentence. She answered on the first ring and said, "Finally." I told her everything. Every message. Every lie. Every receipt. When I finished, she sighed and said, "Sweetheart, none of this surprises me." Then she told me something that made the air leave the room. "You do know your parents have been getting help from both of us, right?" I froze. "Both of us?" I asked. "Me and Grandma Jeannie," she said. "We've been covering them for years separately. We only found out recently." And that's when the story stopped being sad and started getting ugly. The email came late on a Tuesday. Subject line: "Saw your work, quick question." At first, I thought it was business. I just updated my portfolio site, so random inquiries weren't unusual. But this one wasn't about modeling gigs or collaborations. It was about my mother. Carly wrote that she worked for a mid-sized agency in Orlando and had recently interviewed someone named Diane Bishop. My mom for a front desk job. Seemed normal until the middle of the interview. "She mentioned you," Carly wrote, "said her daughter was in the fashion world, but that you were more of a pretend model, and that you relied on family money to look like you were doing well." I read it twice, my stomach turning cold. After everything, the Miami Post, the public humiliation, the confrontation, she was still doing it, still dragging my name in rooms I'd never stepped into. And the worst part, she wasn't even being defensive or embarrassed. Carly said she'd said it with a smirk. The woman who sobbed and apologized in front of 2 grandmothers and half our bloodline was still spreading lies about me behind my back. Carly ended the message gently. "You don't seem anything like what she described. Actually, you seem like someone she's afraid of becoming." That line stuck. Afraid of becoming me. Yeah, that sounded right. I screenshotted the email and sent it to Nana and Jeannie with no explanation. A minute later, Jeannie replied, "Get ready. You're not going to believe what we just found out." I didn't even have time to ask before my phone started ringing. Alexis. She was crying. Not the performative kind, the hiccuping, gasping kind that means something real broke. Between sobs, she said, "I was at the house. I found a folder in the laundry room under some sheets. You need to hear this. It was a loan application. Actually, 3. My dad's name, my mom's name, and Jeannie's as a co-signer. They had tried to take out a second mortgage using Jeannie's identity. Apparently, the bank flagged the form when something didn't match up and called to verify. That's how Jeannie found out through a fraud prevention call. By the time I processed what Alexis was saying, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Alexis said they were going to do it without telling her, without telling anyone. Jeannie didn't just confront them, she showed up. Not alone. She brought Nan to elderly women in cardigans, holding documents and decades of suppressed fury, standing on my parents' doorstep like divine retribution with reading glasses. Jeannie told them flat out she was considering legal action. Nana told them they had officially crossed into territory no decent person could crawl out of. By morning, the truth was everywhere. Nana and Jeannie didn't whisper, they called. Every cousin, every aunt, every relative who'd ever sent a Christmas card. They laid it all out. The lies, the fake poverty, the mortgage scam, the beach trip, the smear campaign. By noon, my parents weren't just cut off financially, they were cut off socially. The family group chat turned into a courtroom. No one defended them, not even the twins. Ava packed a bag that day and moved to Savannah with a college friend. Alexis stayed behind, but she stopped taking sides. She did their grocery shopping occasionally, So they don't starve, she said, but that was it. For the first time, my parents were truly alone, and I hadn't lifted a finger. Then, late one evening, my phone buzzed again, a text from Nana. Next Sunday dinner. Just us, the girls, me, Jeannie, and your parents. They asked for it, she added. They say they want to apologize again. For real this time. I stared at that message for a long time before replying. Do they mean it? Her answer came fast. They're different. Not fixed. But different. I said I'd come. Not to make peace, but to see if they'd finally learned what losing me really meant. And I walked into that dinner knowing one thing for sure this time. I wouldn't be the one swallowing my pride. Sunday dinner at Nana's felt different before I even stepped through the door. No laughter spilling from the kitchen. No clinking glasses, just quiet. The kind that makes you hyper-aware of your own heartbeat. I arrived a few minutes late on purpose. Petty? Maybe, but I wanted them to sweat. When I walked in, Nana was setting plates, Jeannie was pouring iced tea, and my sisters were hovering awkwardly near the table. Ava looked like she hadn't slept much. Alexis had that tight, polite smile people wear when they've rehearsed their lines. Then I saw them, my parents, sitting at the end of the table, hands folded, shoulders hunched. They looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just deflated, like the world finally stopped buying their performance. No one said a word as I took my seat. Nana placed a plate in front of me like she always did, casual as ever. The roast beef smelled incredible, because of course it did. If Nana was going to host an emotional reckoning, she'd serve it with proper seasoning. We ate in silence for the first 10 minutes, forks scraping, ice clinking, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down like humidity. Then Jeannie set down her napkin, crossed her arms, and said quietly, "Go ahead." No preamble, no sympathy, just the command of a woman who'd had enough. My mom nodded, took a deep breath, and started. "I don't know how to start except by saying I'm sorry," she said. "Really sorry. For Miami, for what we said, for the lies, for making you feel like you were something to be ashamed of." Her voice cracked halfway through. But she didn't stop. "We were jealous. You turned out better than us. And we couldn't handle it? So, we punished you for it." The room was so quiet, you could hear the refrigerator hum. Then my dad spoke. "We mocked your career because we didn't understand it. We told ourselves it wasn't real because that made it easier to sleep at night. For the first time in my life." He looked human, not the smug man who called me a clown, not the guy who laughed at my ambition. Just tired, honest. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Then Ava leaned forward, tears in her eyes. "We believed them. About everything. I'm sorry too for not seeing it sooner." Alexis nodded. "We should have asked questions. You didn't cut us off, they did." Jeannie still hadn't said a word. She just watched them like a jury foreperson waiting for sincerity to prove itself. Then Nana spoke up. "Tell her what you're going to do now." My mom hesitated, then answered quietly. "We're not asking for money. We're selling things. The second car's gone. We're moving to a smaller place near Lawrenceville. We're starting over. We're getting counseling." My dad nodded. "No more pretending. No more lies. We know we broke something we can't fix overnight." There was a long pause. For the first time, I believed them not because of what they said, but because of how small their voices were. There was no arrogance left to stand on. I didn't cry. I didn't hug them. I just nodded once. That was enough. We stayed at the table for another hour, talking about old stories, laughing a little, almost like a normal family. Almost. When I finally stood to leave, my mom followed me to the door. She didn't ask for anything. She just hugged me soft, quiet, no words. It wasn't a plea. It was gratitude. Or maybe grief. On the drive home, the city lights blurred through the windshield, and I thought about my birthday again. How I'd woken up that morning thinking it would be the best day of my life, and it was. Just not for the reason I expected. It wasn't the cake, or the party, or the applause. It was the clarity. The moment I learned exactly where I stood in my own family, and then chose to stand anyway. The next morning, I sent my mom one text. "Let's see if you keep going." No heart emoji. No promise of forgiveness. But for the first time in 30 years, I didn't feel like the clown in any one story. I felt like the ringmaster who'd finally taken the tent down. It's been 8 months since that dinner, and I've learned something surprising about silence. It's not always empty. Sometimes it's just peace catching its breath. My parents really did sell the house. They moved into a small 2-bedroom rental outside Lawrenceville. My dad actually got a job, real one, at an auto parts shop. My mom started volunteering at a community center. When I visited the website last week, I saw her photo on their staff favorites page, holding a tray of cupcakes. It didn't sting. It almost made me smile. Ava's still in Savannah, running a small candle business that somehow turned into a side hustle worth bragging about. Alexis moved closer to me in Atlanta and comes over on Sundays. We cook, gossip, sometimes talk about what happened, but mostly we just live. That's the quiet miracle of healing. One day you realize you're talking about the future more than the past. Nana still runs every family dinner like a courtroom, but now it's laughter she enforces, not confessions. Jeannie brings lemon pie every time, says it's for closure, though I suspect it's mostly because she knows I'll eat half of it before dessert's even served. And my parents, they haven't asked for money once, not even hinted. The last text I got from my mom said, "We just paid off the last of the credit card debt." Starting fresh feels strange, but good. Thank you for holding your line. Even when it hurt, I didn't respond right away. Just sat with it. The same way you sit with a song that used to make you cry but now just makes sense. My 30th birthday started as humiliation broadcast to the internet, but it became something else, a reckoning. A clean break, a beginning disguised as an ending. Sometimes I still scroll back to that post, the beach selfie, the white outfits, the caption about people who make life worth living. I keep the screenshot, not out of bitterness, but as proof that the version of me they mocked was strong enough to outgrow them, forgive them, and still walk away taller. If I've learned anything, it's this. Sometimes family teaches you love. Sometimes they teach you boundaries. Mine, it just happened to teach me both on the same day. Alternate ending. The one I didn't expect. 3 weeks after that last dinner, I woke up to a text from my dad. Just a photo. No caption. It was the old house. Empty. Bare floors. Sunlight slanting through the windows. A sold sign in the yard. I stared at it for a long time before realizing what hit me so hard. It wasn't sadness. It was relief. The stage where every lie had been performed was gone. Dismantled. We were all somewhere new now. That afternoon, my phone rang again. Video call from my mom. I almost didn't answer, but something in me said, "End this right." She was in the new kitchen. Boxes everywhere. Hair messy. Face bare. "We're really doing it," she said. Starting from nothing. She turned the camera so I could see the table. Just one photo sitting there. Me, age 7, in a handmade dress, smiling like I hadn't learned yet that love could come with strings. "I keep this out," she said softly, "so I remember who I hurt." And for the first time in decades, I saw my mother. Not the manipulator, not the liar, just the woman who'd run out of excuses. I didn't forgive her then, but I said, "Keep that photo. She deserves better." She nodded, and for once, didn't try to speak through the silence. Since then, I've stopped replaying the past like a movie I can't change. I still work, travel, book shoots, but I also rest. I breathe. I go to Nana's on weekends and bring dessert now. Lemon pie, because Jeannie says it's tradition. The truth is, my 30th birthday was the day I lost a family and gained a backbone. And sometimes, when I'm scrolling through old photos, I see that beach post, the one where they said they were spending time with people who make life worth living. Now I laugh when I see it, because they were half right. They just didn't realize the person who made life worth living was the one they left behind. A year later, I turned 31. No rooftop parties this time, no gold napkins, no guest list. I booked a small table at a quiet restaurant in Midtown. Just me, Alexis, Ava, Nana, and Jeannie. When the waiter brought out the cake, Nana leaned over and whispered, "So, does this one feel different?" It did. Last year, my birthday had been a public execution of illusions. This year, it was a quiet coronation. Halfway through dinner, my mom called. I let it ring twice before answering. Her voice was soft, not performative anymore. "We wanted to say happy birthday. Your father's here too." I didn't expect the next part. My dad spoke up in the background. "We're proud of you, kid." No speech, no guilt, just those words. When I hung up, Jeannie winked across the table. "Growth," she said, raising her glass. "It's messy, but it counts." We laughed until dessert, telling stories that didn't end in shouting or tears. Later that night, I walked home alone through the city, the kind of warm, humming quiet that only happens when everything finally stops spinning. I passed a mirror in a shop window and caught my reflection. Calm, tired, free. And I realized something. They taught me the one lesson I'd been too soft to learn before, that you can love people completely and still refuse to shrink for them. That screenshot of the Miami trip still sits in my phone, not as a scar anymore, but as a signature, proof of the day I stopped chasing acceptance and started demanding honesty. 30-1 feels lighter. I didn't just survive my family, I outgrew the version of me who thought their love was the only kind worth earning.
It had been almost 3 years since I last heard from them. 3 years since the day they told me I was strong enough to take care of myself and left me alone after surgery. 3 years since I stopped trying to call, text, or explain. And then that message. Your dad isn't doing well. He keeps asking about you. My hands were shaking. I didn't even realize how hard until I saw the little tremors across the screen. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone glowing in my palm like it was something fragile or dangerous. Part of me wanted to throw it across the room. Another part just wanted to hear his voice again. But mostly, I didn't know if I was ready to open that door after finally learning how to close it. I didn't answer right away. I went to work, pretended to focus, but every time I saw father and child together, I felt that sharp pull in my chest. You know, the one that says you still care even when you wish you didn't. That night, I finally replied, I'll come by tomorrow. The drive to the hospital was silent. No music, no thoughts, just the steady hum of tires and a heartbeat that felt too loud. When I walked into the room, he looked smaller, thinner, weaker. The man who used to tower over me, who used to lift me with one arm, now struggled to turn his head toward the door. Hey, I said softly. For a moment, he didn't recognize me. His eyes flickered, searching, then softened. You came. It was 2 words, simple, but they hit like a storm. We didn't talk much at first. Just silence, heavy and full of things we never said. Then, slowly, his hand reached across the blanket, trembling. I hesitated and then took it. He whispered, I wasn't a good father, was I? I didn't know what to say. Anger and forgiveness fought inside me like fire and rain. All those nights alone, the pain, the loneliness, it all came rushing back, but I looked at him and realized time had already done most of the punishing. He didn't need my anger, and I didn't need to carry it anymore. So I just said, you did what you thought was right, and for once, that was enough. He smiled faintly. You turned out better than I deserve. We sat there until visiting hours ended. When I left, I knew it might be the last time I'd see him, and somehow I was okay with that. A few weeks later, I got another message. This time, from my mom. He passed peacefully. He wanted me to tell you he was proud. I didn't cry. Not right away. Instead, I went for a walk, the kind of long, quiet walk where the world feels distant and everything inside you feels loud. And somewhere between the trees and the fading sun, the tears finally came, not because of guilt, not even because of loss, but because after all the hurt, the silence, and the years of waiting, I finally let go. Now, when people ask about my family, I just smile a little and say, they taught me one thing, that love isn't always shown the way you expect. But it still leaves a mark, and maybe, somewhere beyond all that pain, they finally understood that too.
Sometimes I still think about that morning, the one when I woke up on my 30th birthday expecting love and found mockery instead. It used to make my chest ache, but now it just makes sense. That day didn't break me, it introduced me to myself. A year later, everything feels quieter, not empty, just balanced. The noise that used to fill my life was mostly guilt dressed up as obligation. Now there's space for real things, work that excites me, friends who show up, and a peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's permission. My parents still reach out once in a while, not to ask for anything, just to talk. My mom sends photos of the new garden behind their rental house, tomatoes, lavender, a single struggling lemon tree. She says, it's small, but it's ours. My dad writes short texts, simple ones like, saw your ad on the highway, looks great. I don't always answer right away, but when I do, it's because I want to, not because I owe them. Ava and Alexis are doing better, too. We laugh more now, less out of relief, more out of choice. There's still a scar where trust used to live, but scars aren't ugly when they remind you that you healed. Sometimes I scroll past that Facebook screenshot, the beach, the matching white clothes, the caption about people who make life worth living. I don't delete it. It's proof of everything that changed, and how much stronger I am now. If I could talk to the version of myself who read that post for the first time, I'd tell her this. One day, you'll thank them for leaving, for showing you exactly who they are, because that's the day you'll finally stop trying to belong in a place that was never built for you. And when you do, you'll build something better, something honest, something entirely your own. That was my 30th birthday gift, the one they never meant to give me. A few months after that last birthday, I was cleaning out my phone, deleting screenshots, old notes, the kind of clutter that lives rent-free in your gallery, and I stopped on that photo. The one from Miami. All of them smiling, drinks raised, waves behind them. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, just distance. Like looking at a painting you used to stand too close to, now you finally see the whole picture. And it's smaller than you remembered. I didn't delete it. I moved it into a folder called Lessons. That same week, I booked a solo trip, not to prove a point, just to breathe. I chose Portland. Drain, coffee, bookstores, no palm trees, no performative joy, just quiet. On the flight back, somewhere over Georgia, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked calm, not the brittle kind of calm that hides exhaustion, but the grounded kind, the one that comes when you stop chasing people who sprint away from accountability. When I got home, there was mail waiting for me, a small envelope, handwriting I recognized, my mom's. Inside, a card with no glitter, no frills, just 2 words written in pen. Thank you. No explanation, no manipulation, just that. And I realized maybe this was what healing looked like, not perfect reconciliation, not cinematic closure, but small, human gestures that said, "We finally understand." I put the card in the same folder as the screenshot. 2 versions of the same family, one that destroyed me, and one that tried to rebuild. Then I closed my phone, sat back, and smiled, because somewhere between the hurt and the healing, I stopped being the clown and started being the author.